continue to put videos up across social media, what we deal with on a day-to-day basis. And I've just been blessed to be able to go and speak all over the United States to different groups of people. The biggest question that I always get when I go out and speak is it difficult moving from one group to another? I'm going to a nurses conference tomorrow, heading directly out the door to the airport to go to a nurses conference. I just came from a secretary's conference. It's never difficult to work with any group of educators, basically because of this video right here.
On my way home from work today, I realized I have to ask myself a question that no educator wants to ask, but yet we are faced to ask on a regular basis. This question goes to show exactly what kind of life we live as educators, and it's this: did I have chocolate today? Especially when they're stressed, because the answer is no.
That is every one of you in the room, no matter if you're central office or superintendent. Whether you work at preschools or high schoolers, you log on, going, what is that? Do I lick it? Do I smell it? What do I do with that?
That's you, man.
And so I can go and speak to any group anywhere. I have two goals today. My first goal is for you as an individual. Whether you are a central officer at a school level, whether you're at the state level, no matter what your position is, my first goal is to give you something individually that you can use to get through the school year. My second goal is for the group of people that you lead, and I love this group because I'm going to give you things that you can use at your staff meetings as you use your teachers. Generally, at a conference like this, I would go straight videos, but I'm not going straight videos because I have some very important things that I want to be able to show you. So I'm going to just show you my very important, the most important aspects that I use with my videos and talk about. The first is that people just don't get it. People don't get what we're going through today. If you have friends or loved ones that are not educators, I call those people others. If you have others in your life, they don't get what we're going through. But it's very stressful to go home and talk to a friend or text somebody, or how you have a spouse and talk about how crazy a parent was, or all the pressures we're under politically, or state testing and get a blank stare. And it used to really bother me until I realized what was going on. You see, if you have friends that are 20, 30, 40, 50 years old, they think what you're going through today is what they went through 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. Their only paradigm of your world is what they went through when they were in elementary school, middle school, and high school. And so they think everything is exactly the same, and nothing can be further from the truth. Think about how much our world has changed just in the past 3 years. This video got the most responses from our non-educator friends messaging me saying, that's a great example of a video that you've just thrown up to get views, because there's no way that's a true video. So as the video plays, ask yourself, have these things happened in my school? And I'll go ahead and give you the answer. Yes, all these things have happened in your school as well as mine.
Our elementary school grade secretary, hold on one second, please. Hey, honey, why you late? Write your name right here. Why you late? Your daddy was pooping? No, don't write that down. Just put, I'm overslept. Tell your daddy to poop on his own time, not on my school time. Our elementary school, how can I help you? What time does your child have lunch? I can check. Who's your child's teacher? What do you mean you don't know? What grade are they in? What do you mean you don't know? Are you sure you even got a child? We're not going there now. I don't listen to your child gets off the bus today. If you can figure out which one is your child, ask them who their teacher is and call it tomorrow. Hey, honey, why are you late? Right here. Put traffic. Your mama tell you to put traffic? There ain't no traffic. There'll be a lot of kids stuck in traffic. Put mama wouldn't get up right here. What we having for lunch today? Let's see, pizza, go-gurt, or some animal crackers. What do you mean you want to bring your child's lunch because they won't eat that? Who's in charge of your house? I think they should be eating whatever we put in front of them. You can charge. Picky eater. Well, okay, if you have to, go ahead and bring that up there. I'll write a note to teacher. Miss Kane, Snowflake's mama is bringing her lunch.
Oh my God.
Hello, Miss Johnson, secretary. I'm gonna need you to take attendance. Yeah, early day, we do it early day. Yeah, you got clothes on, you can remember that, you should be able to remember attendance.
Every day.
Elementary school, how can I help you? Yeah, okay, whose mama is this? Stevens? Okay, you going on vacation early, you want to let his teacher know so she can gather work. You're going on vacation early. That school calendar's been set for about a year. Grandma's not going to be there 4 days early. Okay, well, here, let me write a note. Mr. Brown, Stephen's mama called. She would like you to spend 3 or 4 hours gathering homework and work 2 weeks early so he can go on vacation. Don't forget to read the log so she can sign it and act like her child read.
Oh my God.
And act like they read.
Hello? Yeah, Is this April's mama? Yeah, she's not at school today. Yeah, well, I'm sorry for waking you up from the nap. She's not at school today. All right, oh, she's sick. Okay, she got a fever? No? Okay, she throwing up? No? Okay, well, why do you think she's sick? Oh, she told you she was sick and she needed to stay home. Okay, what's she doing right now?
Is he wearing the Grinch?
Okay, watching TV and playing some video games. All right, well, you tell her I'm gonna send the Easter Bunny over to your house later with her homework. Oh, you don't believe that? Okay, you just seem to be somebody that's believing a lot of things that
School secretaries are answering those exact same phone calls, and my friends that are not educators, my kids believe those are all made up and those are all true. Literally everything, that's what we deal with. And so that's my first challenge for you. As I picked out what I wanted to challenge you with, that's my first challenge for you. You got to find someone that gets you. And I've already set the stage to say that we all get each other. We've all got home and chocolate ourselves. But let me tell you the person I'm talking about in your life. I love my staff. I have an amazing staff. SRO officer is one of my best friends. Go to the movies with him all the time. My librarian texts me all day long about whatever's happening when I'm not in town. My daughter's a speech path. I love to hear about her day. But nobody understands the day-to-day stress I go through better than another elementary school principal. And so I purposely developed professional relationships with other elementary school principals. You know why? They're going through exactly what I'm going through. And I've got some great friends that are high school principals, but guess what? I've never had to break up a fight between two opposing teams in the middle of a basketball game on a Friday night. I've not dealt with that. And so my first challenge for you is you got to find someone to get you. And guess what? You're very blessed because you're in a room with 1,400 people and they get you. And so my challenge for you is if you don't have a professional relationship with someone who's at a middle school exactly like yours, who's doing the same thing at central office, who's whatever it is you are, that you would get on the internet and find somebody and say, hey, I noticed you're an assistant principal at a middle school. Can we text back and forth? Because guess what? I'm the only middle school principal here. And so my first challenge for you is if you've not developed a professional relationship, especially if you're a new principal. I've already met several new principals out here. You know what? You're assistant principal. I love my assistant principal. She's one of my best friends. You know what she needs? Another assistant principal in her life to complain when I make a student sit. And when you're in school, having been an assistant principal, you know what you need? Another principal to help you get through the day. And so as I speak today, I'm going to go two different ways. That's for you. You've got to find someone. But here's what I also want you to do. You need to stand up in front of your staff and say the same thing. You know why? You got one librarian. You got one school nurse. You got one assistant principal. You got one school psychologist. And you need to challenge them this school year and say, you know what? I see that you're a PE teacher in elementary school. Guess what? You're the only one in this building. You know what you need? You need to develop a relationship with someone that's also a principal at an elementary school PE teacher. You know why? Because they get what they're going through. So my biggest challenge for you is you got to find someone to get you. And you are very lucky today to be in a room full of people. There is somebody at a school that's your size with the same grade level, with the same kids. Develop a professional relationship with those people. You know why? Because they're going through exactly what you're going through. And we got to be able to accept different people's personalities. Think about the personalities in your building. Every grade level is different. As you go throughout the day, if you have, like me, I have Thursdays all day as team meetings. I know exactly what team meeting is going to be like in each hour. You know why? Because I know the personalities that are on those teams. And you're dealing with people that are not like you. And it's very difficult. You have people in your building that don't vote like you, that don't go to your church, they don't watch what you watch on TV. And the biggest thing that you can do and set example in your buildings is to be able to accept everybody in there and challenge your staff to do the same thing. We have to accept the different personalities that are in our building. And I know it's difficult because we're dealing with people that are not like us.
I have a couple of suggestions for you as you deal with negative people. I know as the school year starts, you're going to encounter people that don't like the new curriculum, they don't like the new principal, they don't like the class, they don't like nothing. They're just negative. And if you keep talking to them negative people, let them talk to you, it'll get all over you like white on rice. You don't want that. So I have a couple of suggestions. My first suggestion is don't throw shade back at them. That means being negative back at them. When they're complaining about the new curriculum, you might be tempted to say, well, if you like the old curriculum so much, why don't you murder it? Throwing shade does not work. So here's some things you can do. First, you can distract them with fancy adjectives. Like when they're saying something negative, you just look at them and say, your hands are so dainty. You look at their shoes and say, your shoes are spectacular. Throwing out them fancy adjectives will get them all distracted. Or if that don't work, right in the middle of their negativity, you could say something real crazy and offbeat, like, I love to eat glue. So, I wonder what would happen if I punched a tiger at the zoo. Saying something crazy like that will get them all distracted. If those two things don't work, you can always throw up the horse blinders. That's when you just throw up your hand like this. completely ignore what it is they're saying. The fancy adjectives don't work, and then distractions, just build course blinders. You just need to get away from the negative people.
Have you ever worked with someone like that?
Yes.
Absolutely. You've got those people in your building. They aren't happy with anything. They don't like you. They don't like their kids. They don't like their parents. They don't like what they're assigned. And they are miserable. And it is absolutely miserable trying to be a leader of someone who is miserable. Or even worse, someone who's happy all the time. Oh my gosh. I'm sitting by your office and thinking, good morning, sunshine. I just want to slap the dog out of your head. Get away from me. I hate you. That's what you're dealing with. In your building are people that are not like you. They don't vote like you. They don't go to your church. They don't watch the same things you watch on Netflix. You are dealing with people who have different personalities than you. And you, as the leader in that building, have to accept everybody's personality. I have a PE teacher that drives me crazy because she's all about health, and obviously I am not all about health. But that's not my stress with her. My stress with her, she thinks it's okay to teach scare tactics to elementary school kids. And she tries to scare our kids into being healthy and scare our kids into eating right by telling them all the terrible things that are going to happen to them if they don't eat right and if they don't exercise. And I know that research supports her because I know research tells us that Oreos can be as addictive as cocaine, but you don't need to teach that to kindergartners. Because you know what happens when you teach that to kindergartners and they bring Oreos to lunch? They act like drug dealers. Hey, I got something good. And that's the way she teaches it. She tries to scare our kids into being healthy. And that kind of conversation teaching brings me into conversations I don't want to have with parents because I get screamed and yelled at all the time from parents on the phone saying my child refuses to eat ketchup on their French fries because your PE teacher told them if they're going to eat something with so many calories like French fries, they shouldn't add extra calories on the meal by using ketchup. You know how stressful it is? Of course you do, because you deal with those kind of personalities. And I'm trying to even change her. I've written her up. I put her on a corrective action plan. I sent her to 5 other schools for a straight week to see the best 5 PE teachers in her district. She came back, nothing was changing. We had Goody Table Day about 5 years ago, and I was sitting in there. I sit in there all day long on Goody Table Room. Sitting in there on the big potluck, and at the end of the day, she came in, she picked up a cupcake, and she kind of giggled to herself. And I said, what are you laughing at? She said, oh, I remember when I was a cheerleader in 10th grade. I went to a birthday party with all my cheerleader friends, and I picked up a cupcake, and my mom slapped it on my hand and said I didn't eat it. And I said, that's why you're crazy. She's a good friend of mine. I said, that's why you're so crazy. She said, oh, I know, believe me. She said, a year later, to the day, at the same girl's birthday party in 11th grade, with all my cheerleader friends, the pizza guy came in carrying 10 heavy pizzas, and I leaned in real dramatically to smell and to make my friends laugh, and my mom grabbed my pigtail and pulled my head back in front of all my friends, and announced that I had overeaten at lunch. I wasn't getting any pizza. She had salad for me that was in the car. And I realized standing there in this Goody Table room with this 45-year-old woman that as the administrator in this building and as a human being, I had dealt with this all wrong because I had spent 3 years trying to change her, and what I needed to do was change me. You're not going to change the personalities in your building. They don't go to your church. You got opposite thought processes on churches. They don't vote like you. They don't watch with. They don't eat like you, and you're not going to change them. But you can change you. You can change you in the way you deal with someone who doesn't vote like you, who doesn't go to church 3 times a week like you do, who doesn't eat like you. You can change you. And let me tell you how easy it is. All you have to do is start focusing on the things you have in common rather than the things you have that are not in common. And guess what I did? When I started focusing on what we had in common, it made me realize something. Do you know why a kindergartner would refuse to eat ketchup on their French fries? Because they loved the teacher that told them that. And when I started focusing on the things that we had in common, do you know that everybody in this room and everybody in your district that's hired by your district has one thing in common? Everybody from the bus driver to the secretary to the custodian are giving up 6, 7, and 8 hours a day to raise somebody else's kids. Every person in your building, every person in the central office are giving up their own lives to raise other people's kids. And we have all that in common, but when we only look at where they go to church, or who they voted for, or what they watch on TV, we get all mixed up in those things, rather than the fact that what you're working with is a committed staff that are giving up their lives to raise someone else's child. The best thing you can do as a leader is explain to your staff, we're going to accept everybody in here, whether they vote like you, whether they're married to the person you think they should be married to, no matter where they went to college, we are going to accept everybody because we have to be the role models in front of our kids, and we are living in a society that we didn't grow up in. Because today's society says, if you disagree with someone, find 5 people and go on the internet and bully those people. And it's perfectly acceptable in today's society. But what our kids have is you, as a leader that can step up in front of your school, step up in front of your school buildings and say, you know what, we're going to love and accept everybody no matter who they are, no matter who they voted for, no matter where they go to church, because that's what we need from our kids. And we have to accept the personalities that we're dealing with. And we have to understand the importance of getting on the same page. Wanted to be able to do this just because of the fact that I want you to be able to do this back with your group. It is miserable if you have groups that aren't on the same page. And I have this every year. I'll have a grade level that's arguing with another grade level, 2 custodians that are not getting along very well, bus drivers that are arguing. And one of the most important things you can do as a school leader in a building or in a district is to be able to get everybody on the same page. And it's very difficult to be able to do that, but you can do it if you step up and do it and try.
I'd like to talk about something very important at all schools across the nation and probably the world, and that is staff bathroom etiquette. Some of us need a lesson. First, number one is there is a lock on the door for a reason. Make sure you click the bathroom lock. If you don't hear click, it's not locked. And it is very traumatizing to walk in on a staff member in the bathroom. Next, when the toilet paper is gone, call the custodian. Don't just leave and not tell anyone, because the next person that comes in doesn't realize there's no toilet paper, and it causes some stress. Call the custodian. Next, if you share a bathroom, males and females, and you have fluffied up that bathroom with lace and flowers and generic Lumberburger baskets, put something manly in there so the men will feel welcome, like a bobblehead, a superhero poster. We want to feel welcome too. If you happen to have bathrooms, one's for men's and one's for women's, don't yell at the men when there is a line at the women's bathroom. That is not our fault. Stop trying to sneak into the men's bathroom. If you snuck into the ladies' bathroom, you would say gross. So stop sneaking into the men's bathroom. Gross. Most important, air freshener. Don't make the air freshen. So stop spraying 42 seconds worth of air freshener. It's just making things worse. And as it pertains to that rule, if you have Taco Tuesday at your house, Wednesday might be a good day for you to get a doctor's appointment. So you can be off
Gross.
Get on the same page about it. You as the leaders in your building have to be able to get everybody on the same page, because it is miserable when the custodian can't get along with the science lab teacher. When 4th grade is arguing with 6th grade, it is absolutely miserable. And you as a leader have to step up and make sure that everybody is on the same page. And it's really easy. And we think it's not, because we're dealing with all these different personalities and a big, huge, large group of parents, and we can't get everybody on the same page, but it's actually really easy to get everybody on the same page. Let me show you my favorite activity that I wanted to make sure I shared with you, because I want you to be able to use it back in your school. So let me show you how easy it is to get 1,400 people on the same page. We've got preschool all the way up to high school. We've got district people. We've got state people. But we can all be on the same page, and let me show you how easy it is. So do this activity with me. Pick a number between 1 and 10 in your head. Multiply it by 9. Now you're going to separate the digits and add them together. If your answer was 15, you'd add a 1 and a 5. So separate the digits in your answer and add them back together again. Subtract 5. Now you're going to turn your number into a letter. If you had a 1, it's an A, 2 is a B, 3 is a C, 4 is a D. So now you've got a letter of the alphabet. It gets a little bit harder, and I'll give you a second to think. Think of a country that begins with your letter. And think of an animal that begins with the second letter of your country. We think it's hard to get our staff on the same page, but we've got 1,400 people in the room here. Raise your hand if you've got Denmark and elephant.
I did.
I have Bolivia bears.
You miscalculated.
I
I love that.
miscalculated.
But here's why. It's great being able to use that.
Bolivia bear. Starts with 2 B's?
And use that with your staff.
My
It's always
number
gonna come out the same way.
was 27.
Whether I'm in 20 people or with 5,000
I
people
subtracted
taking
2,
Texas
that's
as an open
22.
day, the percentages are always the same. 90% of you got
We'll go
Denmark and
back.
elephant. 2% of you got Denmark and another animal, eagle, emu. 2% of you had a hard time with the math, like, oh, slow down, you're going too fast. Several of you are just like the kids, and you're like, whatever, I was up all night with an alarm, I'm not going to do this. It's always going to come out the same. You can Google Denmark elephant game and play that with your staff. You know what? It's going to come out the same way. It's a great way to say, look, we all came out on the same page. But I don't want to just give you a cutesy activity and without telling you what the key is. So let me tell you what the key is to getting your staff on the same page. So I have 750 kids at my elementary school. We're the largest elementary school in Lexington. We are designated to be a neighborhood school by our district. Because of that designation, it means everybody but the liars live within a 4-mile radius of our I've got a lot of liars trying to sneak in my building. So 750 kids, everybody but the lying parents, live within a 4-mile radius. And because of that, we have 19 buses that service my school. My bus rider line is almost a third of a mile long. It's absolutely crazy. And 5 years ago, we had a knockdown drag-out between two 80-year-old bus drivers that included slapping each other in the face, spitting on each other, cussing at each other, and all the fifth graders standing in a circle going, go, go, go. And they got into a huge fight because they both wanted to be first in the bus rider line. We get out at 2:45, they started pulling it at 2:15, trying to be first, and then 2 o'clock, and then started pulling it at 1:45, and it culminated into this big, huge fight that the kids still talk about 5 years later when one of the bus drivers started pulling his bus in at 9 a.m. after his morning route and having a friend pick him up, so that no matter what time the other bus came in, his bus was always first in line. Oh my God. And they got into this big, huge fight. When I went out there saying, what in the world is going on with two 80-year-old men fighting in front of these elementary school kids? One of the bus drivers said, if I'm not first in line, then I'm 10 minutes late every afternoon to pick up my wife from dialysis. Oh. Do you know how easy that would have been solved? Communication. Yeah. That's the key to you being on the same page. The key to your custodian being on the same page with the librarian is communication. The key to the English department being on the same page with the basketball coaches is communication. All you have to be able to do is communicate. Now, unfortunately, what we've done, especially in the United States, is we think that getting on the same page means I get my way and I like the decisions that are being made. Let me remind you of something to remind your staff. Being on the same page does not mean you get your way. It doesn't even mean you like the decisions that I'm going to be making at this school. It simply means we always communicate and you know why the decisions are being made. Do you know why? Because in this group of people at your school, you're going to have to walk away from a meeting not getting your way. You're not going to get the person you think hired the best, that interviewed the best, and we're not going to hire that person. We're not going to place the kid where you think you need to be placed. We're not going to spend the money where you think it needs to be spent. Do you know why? Because we're in a situation where we're working with a lot of people, with a lot of different thoughts, and a lot of different ideas. But we can always be on the same page. Being on the same page doesn't mean you get your way. It doesn't even mean you like the decisions that are being made. It simply means you understand why the decisions are being made. Do you know why? Because you had open communication. And so I challenge you to step into your school year always openly communicating so that people don't question why it is you did that. They know why you did it. They may not like what you did, but they know why you did it because you communicated with them. Being on the same page doesn't mean you get your way. It doesn't even mean you like the decisions that are being made. It simply means you understand the decisions that are being made because we as a staff have communicated. And you have to communicate with the people that are around you. And and now this is a two-way street here. If I was with a bunch of teachers, I would say, do you know who's in charge of climate culture in your building? You are. You are. The true answer to this is you as administration. You are in charge of the climate culture of your building. If you have a mass exodus every year out of teachers, you need to pick up a mirror and figure out what the situation is. Because guess what? Teachers will stay at schools that are difficult if they have a supportive administration. But let me tell you what you need to say to your staff. Do you know who's in charge of climate culture in this building? You are. It's not me as a leader, it's you. And you as a third grade teacher, you're in charge of your climate culture. You as a bus driver, you are in charge of climate culture. The climate culture of where you work is what is up to each individual person. And you can either add to the climate culture or you can take away from the climate culture. And if you're in a great place and you love this building, you love your school, then you can add to the positive climate culture of the building. And if you're not working in a situation that's not great, people aren't getting along, it's just not a really great place to work, then you can change that. The climate culture is up to each individual person in that building and the way they prepare for it, and you can change it if you choose to.
As we get close to Halloween, I have something you can do that will bless your colleagues at school or at work. Go out and get yourself a purple prize pumpkin from Walmart's. They're only $1. They're not filled with tasty treats, and the teachers can reach in and pull out a tasty treat and be like, what is that? Oh, well, I got a payday. I got all sorts of fun things in here. Here's a chicken leg. Some M&Ms in here.
Chicken leg.
This is a great tasty treat.
Biscuits.
So that's fun. Here's our almond joy. That's always delicious. I got me a Speedway hot dog, and I have some Tic Tacs. This is my favorite. Just some boiled eggs. I take some Oracle whip and some chicken up there. And teachers will be able to make devil dicks right there in the classroom. So go out and get yourself a purple prize pumpkin from Walmart. Still bring blessings here at the Halloween season.
People ask me all the time what it's like to work at my school. Because that's climate and culture. The things you do as a leader in your building is what climate and culture is. The thing that your 4th grade teacher does, that's climate and culture. What you do for your secretaries on Secretary Week, that's climate and culture. What you do when you've got a big basketball game for your coaches, how you celebrate birthdays, that's climate and culture. We do Purple Prize Pumpkin in our school. In October, everybody knows on any given day, a 5th grader is going to knock on every door and say, it's Purple Prize Pumpkin Day, take something out of the pumpkin. It's not chicken legs, it's candy. But wouldn't it be great if it was chicken legs? We do it every season. A 5th grader takes around a stocking at Christmas full of candy. An Easter basket at Easter. Right before spring break, when everybody's sick of each other, a 5th grader knocks on every door and says, you're almost there, take a piece of candy. We give out ice cream sandwiches on the first day of spring to mark the first day of spring to all the teachers on the recess field. They're disgusting, no one likes them, but they've got them, and the kids don't have them, and that's all it takes to make a good day for a teacher. Do you know who's in charge of that? You. But do you know what you need to say to your staff? Do you know who's in charge of that? You. You school psychologist, you counselor, you are in charge of that. If you're waiting for me as the school leader to do something, you could be waiting forever. You know why? Because I'm overwhelmed.
Okay.
You can step up and do that yourself. So let me give you a couple ideas that I use that I would challenge you to do or you could use with your staff. First thing that I would challenge you to do is email everybody at the beginning of the school year. I email everybody and say, email me back. Let me know what your favorite sweet food is, what your favorite salty food is, and what your favorite drink that you're allowed to drink in school is. You got to preface it with that, or everybody just says white coffee and appreciate. So my whole staff emails me back. I tell everybody to do it to themselves. Email your grade level, email your department, email the special, whatever your family is, and they will email you back that information. So everybody in my building emails me their favorite salty food, their favorite sweet food, and their favorite drink they're allowed to drink at school. I put that in a Word document. I arrange it alphabetically on my computer, and guess what I'm sitting on? Climate and culture. Because I now know what's going to make anybody's day in my building simply by looking on my computer. Let me tell you how it works. When Miss Smith has a really nasty phone call on planning from some parent that's screaming and yelling at her, telling her she's not doing a good job with her kids and she's crying in her room, trying to get herself together before her kids come back from art, and I find out about it, an hour later she's got a sweet tea from McDonald's and pretzels on her desk because all I had to do was look on my computer to see what's going to make her day a little bit better. Let me tell you how it works for your teachers. When you as a teacher find out what your colleagues like, and you walk across the hallway and you say, hey, I'm sorry that kid yelled at you, I heard him cussing you and slam the door, I'm sorry you're having a bad day, I know this doesn't make up for it, but here's a zebra cake.
Yeah.
You know what your colleague says? You as my colleague understand I was having a bad day. You as my colleague would like me to have a better day, and you as my colleague know me well enough to know that zebra cake's my favorite. You had it in your desk when you needed it. Do you know how easy that is? It just requires you gathering that information. Let me tell you how it's great for me as a building leader. When I'm at a soccer game and a parent comes up and introduces me to me and I say, hey, who's your child's teacher? And they say, oh, Senior Aparicio. I say, isn't she an amazing teacher? She is. I said, you know what? If you will email me tomorrow, I will tell you the 3 favorite things that she likes, because I guarantee you there's a time this school year when you're going to want to send her something because she's having a bad day or she's done something great for your kids. When we have Teacher Appreciation Week, I mass email that out to everybody. And every parent gets what everybody in the building likes. You know why? Because that's climate and culture. You can change climate culture if you choose to. Let me give you one more idea before I'm going to change up what I'm doing. I buy 3 composition notebooks at the beginning of the school year. They're 50 cents at Walmart. And I type up on a Word document, this is a compliment notebook. Read what your colleague said about you on the first page of writing. Then write something nice about one of your colleagues and stick it in their box. I run that off, then I tape it to the front of the 3 notebooks. And then I write 3 different teachers. Dear Miss Smith, great job moving kindergartners through the hallway. I know it's hard moving 25 kids in the building without noise. I've never had anybody complain about what your kids. Thank you for setting them up for success. You're a blessing to me. You're a blessing to our school. But most importantly, you're a blessing to your kids. And I stick it in Miss Smith's box. She gets it out and she reads the front cover. This is a compliment notebook. Read what the person wrote on the last page of writing about you, then write something nice about one of your colleagues and stick it in their box. And she opens it up and she reads what I wrote about her, and she turns the page and she writes something nice about Senior Aparicio and sticks it in her box. And now for $3 and 20 minutes of my time, I have 3 compliment notebooks moving throughout my mailbox system. And guess what I found? Nobody just reads the last page because they're nosy. They read every page. And I love that. You know why? Because my teachers are now reading 27 things that they didn't realize before. Do you know how easy that is? I do this with our administrators. I'm in a huge district, 56,000 kids. We have 57 administrators, and I do 5 administrative notebooks at the beginning of the school year. This is a Fayette County administrative notebook. Read what one of your administrative colleagues said about you, then write something nice about one of your administrative colleagues and stick it in the Courier. And I write 5 of my colleagues, and I stick it in the Courier. They get it, they read what I wrote about them, and then they write another administrator, and now we've got 5 going through our Courier system, and you're getting compliment notebooks. Do you know how easy that is? The climate and culture is up to you and what your school is running, but here's what I want you to be able to do. I want you to go back to your school and say to each individual teacher, it's up to you. If your grade level's not getting along, that's up to you. If you're not getting along with the department across the hallway, that's up to you. If you don't like the way things are going, the climate and culture is up to you as an individual teacher, and you can change that. So I want to, usually I will go for an hour and a half on my videos, but I want to do something that's very important for me because I want you to be able to walk out here with something very useful for you to be able to use. When we went into a nationwide lockdown 3 years ago because of COVID, all of my conferences got canceled and everybody went virtual. And I realized after my very first virtual conference that I don't like to use videos because I don't know if you've ever experienced this or not, but Zoom does not always work correctly. So I don't like to be with 1,400 people and be on a Zoom call and all of a sudden have the Zoom call go down. So I decided I'm going to do something a little bit different. So I decided I would just do what I do with my staff. I was a youth minister for 9 years in Florida, and one of the best ways to teach a student is with an object lesson. If you can find an everyday object and you can relate that object to something you want your kids to remember, when they see that object 5 weeks down the road, they'll remember what you taught them because you related it to an object lesson. So I thought if that's a great way to be able to teach kids, it's a great way to teach adults. So about 10 years ago, I started using object lessons with my staff. And I want to share the object lessons I use with my staff of the goal of you being able to duplicate this and use it with your staff. I get most of these things from the Dollar Tree. I have my PTA purchase these, and I give them to my teachers to put on their desk. And so I want to share the most important ones that you might want to use. And the first one I want to use is for you. It's not really one, well, you can share it with your staff, but it's really for you. It's just peanut butter jelly. Everybody gets peanut butter and jelly in my staff in the very beginning of the year. These are $3 for $1 at the Dollar Tree. These are a little bit harder to find. If I can't find them, sometimes I buy a jar of goober. You know what goober is?
Yes.
Mix peanut butter and jelly and give them to everybody. But I give them to them and I say, put this on your desk as a reminder that you can't allow P&J into your life. I usually don't share this one. This is on the end of my list unless I have 2 hours to speak. But I moved it up because this is for you. Because I want to challenge you as a leader. If you allow P&J into your life as a leader, you can't grow. And do you know what P&J is? Professional jealousy. If you allow professional jealousy into your life as a leader, it stops you from growing. But what I say to my teachers is, if you allow professional jealousy into your life as an educator, you can't grow. And what is professional jealousy? You being jealous of somebody else. You're jealous of a teacher that I've called out to lead a PD. You're jealous because you're not here taking a picture with a poster. You're jealous of that. And when you allow professional jealousy to come into your life as a leader, it stops you from growing. Let me give you my personal example. We take our state test in May. We get the scores back in August. Yeah, when the kids are gone, how stupid is that? That's how dumb our state testing is. So we take our test scores in May, the kids leave, and then we get the test scores back in August. The way it works in Kentucky, we get our test scores back on a Tuesday as an administrator, and I have all day long to disaggregate the data, decide what I'm going to present, and put it into a PowerPoint. The next day, Wednesday, is assessment announcement day. And that means everybody gets they're unembargoed. They're embargoed until then. But on Wednesday, they're unembargoed and everybody gets them. And thankfully, our Lexington Herald Leader publishes all the test scores. Then they rank order us. 36 elementary schools, top score, bottom score. 14 middle schools, top to bottom. 10 high schools, top to bottom. And it's the only time that they use color in the newspaper, and they color coordinate us. Green, blue, yellow, and red. Don't even know where the cutoffs are for that. But you know the first thing that I do in that morning? Get that paper out and look and see where I fell. You know the first thing my parents do? Get that paper out and see where we fell in that rank ordering. And we look at that rank ordering and we look and see where we fell. We say, wow, look, we're right here. Oh my gosh, look at all the schools that we beat. And we start celebrating and say, wait, we beat Maxwell. We've never beat Maxwell before. Oh my gosh, we beat Southern. We've never beat Southern before. And we start celebrating our accomplishments. And then we take a minute to see who's above us. And this sets in. And we start making excuses for the people who have outscored us because we're jealous of that. And when I see my daughter's school 3 miles down the road, Brenda Caroline Elementary, has outscored me in science, do you know what I should be doing? Getting on the phone and saying, hey Josh, I just saw your science scores.
Yeah.
You all blew us out of the water. I really need some help here. Can you tell me what you're doing? But instead this sets in. And I say things like, well, they're at a high income school. We can't compare our skills to them. Look at all these we meet in there. Oh, well, they've got a science lab. They've got so much money. They made $50,000 on wrapping paper. Well, we can't compete with that. And I, as administrator, start to make excuses why somebody has done something better than me, someone has outscored me, someone has better staff retention than me, and when I start to get jealous of them, I shut them down. Because that's not the person I'm going to call. Do you know who I'm going to call? The person that scored lower than me. Because I know they know that I outscored them. And when you allow professional jealousy to come in, you know what? You don't call those people. Do you know who I should be calling? The person that's outscoring me in science. The person that has better staff retention than me. The basketball coach that's got better record than me. That's the person. But when you become jealous of them, it shuts them down. Let me tell you what you can say to your staff. You can't be jealous of the people in this room. You know why? Because the people in this room have to help you out. Let me tell you what it looks like in your staff meeting. You're in a staff meeting and you call Miss Smith up and say, okay, I'm going to give Miss Smith 5 minutes. Every time I'm in her room, she does this great job communicating with parents. She's got composition notebooks. She writes in them, the kids write in them, and the parents write in them. It's a great three-way communication system. I love it. And I wanted to tell you guys how she set that up, because it might be something that you would use in your classroom. And Miss Smith starts talking about this situation, and this sets in. And you have a teacher lean over to somebody and say, why is a second-year teacher talking at our staff meeting when we've been here for 15 years? And you have somebody else pick up a cell phone and say, well, he just told me I was really good at parent communication. He's never allowed me to talk at staff meetings. She must be his favorite. And every time I call somebody out and let them lead, every time I say something about that, I get this. And when I say 4th grade, I just looked at the math scores. Great job, fall winner on math. Unbelievable growth. 3rd grade raises their hand and goes, we're the ones that sent them those kids last year. And 5th grade raises their hand and says, they sent us a bunch of morons this year. I don't know what they were doing this year, but they're not as great as you think they are. And every time I was calling somebody out, this is what I would have. But you know what that does? It stops it. You know why? Because when 4th grade outscores everybody in math, everyone in the building should be going to 4th grade.
That's right. What did you do?
That you have outscored us. When someone has better staff retention than you, has better test scores than you, has a better football record than you, that's the person you should be calling. But when you allow professional jealousy into your life, that's the person you shut down. And you start making excuses as to why they've got better scores, why they have better staff retention. Give these to your teachers. Find them and say, we cannot allow jealousy to become a part of our building because we have to grow, but you have to set that example. You can't be jealous of somebody who got an award. You can't be jealous of somebody who gets to speak at a conference. You can't be jealous of somebody who has better staff retention than you. That's the person you need to be reaching out to. So don't allow professional jealousy to come into your life as a professional. This is the next one I want to share with you guys that I couldn't miss. Everybody gets one of these, just a light switch. I share this a lot. It's 2 pieces. It's the switch and the plate. Everybody gets one of these in my building. I saw this lesson in a 3rd grade teacher's classroom. She had a lot of kids on the autism spectrum. And if you've ever worked with kids, which I'm sure you are on the autism spectrum, kids on the autism spectrum have a really hard time stopping something if they're enjoying it. And she knew she was going to have 10 kids on the autism spectrum and that she would have difficulty every day if they were having a fun time in math. And she said, put your math books away. All 10 of those kids would have a really difficult time. So she decided to give them a visual cue. So she gave everybody a light switch. She had a gigantic one on the board that she had gotten. It was fake. It was like 3 foot big from Amazon. She gave all these in. They wrote their names on them. They painted them. They were in their desks. And she used this as a visual cue to stop one thing and move on to the other. When they came in from recess, they were all excited. She was having a hard time getting them settled down. They had won a big kickball game. And she said, boys and girls, we've got to move on from recess. And you're having a hard time. Can everybody get their light switches out? She said, let's turn off our recess lines. And she turned off the one on the board. She said, we're 3 days into fractions, and you have to know fractions for 4th grade, or your 4th grade teachers will be mad at me, so we all need to be mathematicians. Can you all turn on your math minds? And they all flicked on their math minds, and she flicked them on there, and they put them in their desk, and they were ready to go. See, you know to be successful, you've got to move on. You can't get wrapped up into that nasty email that you got at 7 a.m. and answer that email all day long. A teacher can't love their chapter book and read 9 chapters of it and not get their math. A coach can't love the one skill they're teaching and not teach the other 9 skills. You know to be successful in your life, you have to move from one thing to another, and we have to teach that to our kids. And you automatically do that. Your teachers automatically do that. They flick the lights if they're having a hard time getting their kids. They say clap 3 times, you can hear me. In elementary, they say clean up, everybody, everywhere. And what they're saying is, stop sinners, we've got to move on. The reason I give these to my staff, and the reason I want to share one of these with you, is I know my staff, 65% of them, and in this room, 95% of you are unable to do this on a daily basis with your own professional mind. That you're unable to leave your building and turn off your professional mind, and you're taking your jobs home with you. So let me tell you this two different ways. This was me, and this is why I did this. Because I thought to be a good administrator, I needed to be the first one in the building and the last one to leave. I needed to have weekend hours every weekend, and I would email on Friday, say I'll be here on Saturday from 1 to 3, and I'll be here on Sunday from 4 to 6 if you need me. Do you know I missed that year? A complete year with a 2-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 6-year-old. Because that's how old my kids were. And I was too busy to go to soccer practices and too busy to go to friends' birthday parties. I went to my own kids' birthday parties. I went to their soccer games, but I was too busy to go to practices. I didn't go to friends' birthday parties. You know what happens at friends' birthday parties and soccer practices? A lot of good memories. Yeah. And I completely missed them. Do you know why? Because I didn't know how to do this. Let me remind you first and foremost, leader, you are in a stressful job, mentally and physically stressful. And every single day, at the end of the day, you've got to pull out of your building at 4:30 or 5:30 or 6, and turn this off and go home to what's over there. Because you know what's at home for you? A husband, a wife, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, absolutely. And some of you truly believe, and let me tell you what you believe incorrectly, that the way to be a good leader is to always be there for everybody. You cannot do that, and your teachers cannot do that. I tell myself, if you need me at 2 a.m., call me. I will come over and help you out if we've got a major issue, but if it's not something that I need to deal with right then, I don't want to hear about it. You know why? Because I'll worry all night long. I don't want to hear about rain on your field trip. I don't want to hear about an angry parent at 6 o'clock at night, because I will worry about it all day long. If it's not something that I can fix right then and there, then you can message me tomorrow morning at 6:30 when I turn my professional mind on. Because when I leave that building, I've got one of these on my desk, I've got one of these in my car, and when I pull up in my driveway, I turn this off because I got a wife in there that wants to find out how my day was. I've got an adult child I'm trying to get rid of. And you know what I quickly learned? When I don't turn off my own professional mind, that I walk in the door constantly on my phone doing this to my spouse or my child. And what you're saying is, I'm home for you, but you got to give me 10 more minutes. You have to set the stage as a leader to be able to say, we are going to work from this day, the whole school day, and I'll be here, here, and here, but we got to have time off. And so when I leave this parking lot, I'm done with the day. If you need something, don't message me about your computer. Don't message me about something that I can deal with tomorrow morning at 6:30, because I got to turn off my professional mind. And you've got to have your teachers do that. You've got teachers that are emailing and texting parents at 8 o'clock at night on Wednesday. You know what they are doing? They are enabling those parents. Because 90% of the situations can be handled later. And so I challenge you not only to get one of these for your own desk, but also to give them to your teachers to say, every single day when you leave this building, you got to turn off your professional mind. You want to send me a funny meme? I'm all about it. You got some gossip? Don't leave me out. I don't want to hear about an angry parent. I don't want to hear about field day. Because I'm in a stressful job and I've left it. And I've got to have time to decompress. And some of you don't do that. You're emailing at 9 o'clock at night. You're texting at 9 o'clock at night. And I challenge you to set your school up next year, first and foremost, for you as the leader, that when I pull out of this building, I am turning this off. And I'm going home to my family. But just as important that you would look at your staff and say, too, when you pull out of this parking lot, this needs to be off, and you don't need to worry about school anymore. Because we are in a very stressful job, and we need to make sure that we are, I want to say decompressing. I always say decomposing. Decompressing. The next important thing I want to share with you is just a pacifier. Everybody in my building gets a pacifier every year. I know you're thinking I'm going to say, suck it up, crybaby. That would be a great lesson.
Did he say a pacifier?
Yeah.
This is the second most important thing I'm going to say to you. Everybody gets a pacifier because of what it represents. If you were leaving today and you got in your car and you saw a pacifier in the parking lot, you would say to yourself, well, somebody at the convention center had a baby today, and the baby dropped their pacifier because this represents someone's baby. And the reason I want it on everybody's desks is I want my teachers to remember who we're dealing with. And they forget all the time. So they get a pacifier on their desk to remember exactly who they're dealing with. Those 25 kindergartners you have are 25 individual babies. Those 5th graders walking through your hallway are 25 individual babies. That 17-year-old that snuck the bourbon on the band trip, true story, got all the flag girls drunk. Now you got to decide as a principal if you're going to let them go to the award ceremony, and you have every right to let them know that they're not going to get to go because they signed a contract on that overnight trip. They wouldn't smoke, they wouldn't drink, they wouldn't sneak out of their hotel room. Here you got this 17-year-old with a mustache looking like he's Tom Selleck, snuck bourbon on the trip. Do you know why you're getting ready to get a frantic phone call from a parent? Because that 17-year-old is someone's baby. I love to share this at my school. At my school, the ones that deal with this most are 4th and 5th grade. In this room, it's middle school and high school. Your middle school and high school teachers have forgot what you're dealing with because they're a football coach. You know what they're dealing with? Somebody's baby. And it doesn't make a difference if they're 17 or 9 or 5 or 14. The bottom line is every child walking through your building is someone's baby. My daughter's a speech path in my district. She got hired by my friend Josh about 3 miles down the road from me. Her first year teaching as a speech path, her mom was out of town. And so I texted her about 4:45 and said, hey, meet me at the subway at your house. By your house at 5 o'clock, I'll buy you dinner. Your mom's out of town. I eat dinner at 5 o'clock so that way I can eat the second until 9 o'clock. Amen. So I texted my daughter, your mom's out of town, meet me at subway at 5 o'clock, I'll buy you dinner. She texted me back real quick. She said, I can't, I'm still in staff meeting. We got out of school at 3 o'clock. It was 4:45. So I pulled my phone up and pulled Josh's number up. My friend who I've worked with for 7 years, her principal, and I texted him, Josh, why is my daughter still in staff meeting? You know, she got to school at 7 o'clock this morning. Did you know that your staff's not listening to anything you say after the first 30 minutes of your staff? And every time someone picks up the phone, they're texting the person right next to them to tell them how dumb it is you got them in school at 4:45. Can you please end this stupid staff meeting so I can talk my daughter to dinner? And right before I got ready to push send, I stopped myself for 2 reasons. 1, she would have killed me. And 2, he's allowed to do that. We don't have unions that stop that. But do you know why a 56-year-old man would text message a 23-year-old boss and ask why she was still in staff meeting?
Because that's your
She's
baby.
still my baby. And you know what some of you have forgotten? You're dealing with someone's baby. Because they're getting ready to go to college. Because they're in 8th grade. Because they should know better as 3rd graders. But the bottom line is, they're someone's baby. I take this into every IEP meeting I go to. Here's why. This is what you're going to say in an IEP meeting to a parent. Your child is not where we're expecting them to be academically and behaviorally. We've got this great system in place. We've got this great team in place. And we'd like to tell you the plan that we have to get your child back on a level playing field with everybody and to get them where they need to be. Do you know what the first thing that parent says to themselves is? What did I do wrong? Do you know what the second thing that parent says? What did you do wrong? You know what usually comes out of their mouth? What did you do wrong? Well, you've had them in this district for 9 years. What seems to be the problem? Well, they had Miss Smith last year and she was on maternity leave for 3 months. What's the deal? And all of a sudden you've got a volatile meeting. Every staff meeting, every volatile student meeting, every parent communication meeting, I put this right in the middle of the table so that everybody in that room will remember what we're talking about. And they will be respectful of the fact that that parent is upset because what we're talking about is their baby. I don't care that they're 16. I don't care that they're in 4th grade. The bottom line is everybody that you're dealing with is someone's baby. So I challenge you to be able to do that. This is my next most important one that I got. This is a new one too. Everybody in my building this year is getting a crown. I like it mostly because it looks good on me, but I do like it because it is. Everybody got a crown last year. I've got them all ready to give them out. They're super simple, and I did this as a very important lesson too. And I gave everybody a crown, and I want to share the same thing for you to put a crown on your desk to remember this, that princesses struggle. Did you know that? See, we grew up with Disney. And my daughter was a princess for 3 straight years for Halloween because that's what she wanted to be. And when she finally outgrew that costume, my son wanted to be a princess the next year. I should have told me something about that. But now I want to be a princess because my kids grew up with the royal family and we grew up with Disney World and we grew up this. But you know what you need to remember? Princesses struggle. And I want my teachers to be able to remember this. This comes from the interview with Meghan Markle and Oprah. If you've not watched it as an educator, I challenge you, during some kind of free time, you would get on YouTube and you would Google Oprah Meghan Markle interview, because guess what? She's a princess, a true princess. What girls all over the place, and what boys all over the place, what people wanted to be that royalty. And she's looking at Oprah saying, my mental health was so bad that I wanted to kill myself. A princess who has more money than we will ever have, who has 6 houses, who's known all over the United States for her acting ability, who has more money than we will ever have, looking at Oprah saying, I wanted to kill myself because my mental health was in such a bad place. And so I give these to my teachers to remind them that princesses struggle. We talk about 3 groups of people when we talk about this. First is you. Somebody in this room is struggling. You're already looking for a job. You're counting down the days opposite to go back to school because you're stressed out. You're ready to smother whoever it is you're sleeping with at night. Amen? You're ready to kick out your teenager because they're not that sweet little kid anymore. And it is an argument from the moment they wake up at 2 p.m. until they go to bed at 2 a.m. It is an argument in your house. And I know you're dealing with that. And some of you are struggling, but you're trying to act like you're not. And you've thrown on your crown and you're here and you're all dressed up and you're having a good time, but inside you are struggling. Let me remind you something. We were not meant to live a life of depression and struggling.
That's right.
And if you were in a constant life of depression and struggling, I challenge you to get help somewhere. Let me tell you the best thing that ever come out of COVID, in my opinion, telehealth. Did you know that for $25 you can sit in your pajamas, in your bed with Cheetos surrounding you and talk to somebody who knows exactly what you're going through? But we don't want to do that. Let me ask you this. When you have a kid come in and says, my mom and dad are getting a divorce. When you have a kid come in and says, my mom and dad are thinking about moving and I don't want to leave with my friends. When you have somebody come and says, I don't have any friends. When you have somebody come and says, I'm throwing up because I've got to take a big math test today. Where do you send them? Straight to your counselor. You know why? Because you know your counselor has a skill set that you don't have. But when we don't want to be with the person that we've chosen to marry, when we can't stand the look of our teenagers' faces, when we're so overwhelmed with our bills, we don't want to see a specialist. The first person I talk about is you. If you are struggling, you need to go into the school year with solid mental health. And the way to do that is to get help this summer, find someone to talk to. The second group of people we talk about are your colleagues. In your building are people walking around looking like they got it all together and they are struggling. And we have to make mental health issues a conversation that we have. And let me tell you what mental health issues look like in your building. It's a change in a teacher's behavior. They used to come and say hi to you every morning. You've not seen them in 6 weeks. They used to laugh at the staff meeting at your corny jokes. They're over there looking frowny. When someone's behavior changes, there's probably a change going on in their life, and it's an open door for you to say, hey, you used to be the first one at staff meeting, so you come and talk to me. I haven't seen you at all. You used to sit with your friends right there at lunch, and you're out sitting with them. What's going on here? But the biggest group of people that we talk about with this is the kids. We have kids walking through our building that are absolutely struggling, and they're looking like they're holding it all together, and they aren't. And so we have to open our eyes to the struggles that kids are having. I cannot imagine being a middle schooler or a high schooler with TikTok. Can't imagine it. Because you know what they hear every single night? You're fat, you're ugly, you're not a good dancer, why are you on here? And we have to open our eyes to that. And so I challenge you to put a crown on your desk to remind yourself that all over your building, on your staff, in your front office, on your buses, with your kids, there are kids that are trying to look like they've got it all together, and they're about an inch away from breaking. We have to open our eyes to that and challenge each other about the importance of mental health. I challenge you to put one on your desk and talk to your teachers about opening your eyes to the mental health issues that your colleagues are having, that your kids are having, and most importantly, that you as an individual are having. And so I give them crowns as a constant reminder of that. This is another thing, let me think. Yeah, now that I said it, I've got to show it. This is another thing I give. It's just a little PVC elbow, literally at less than $1. Everybody gets one of these, they're on their desk, and what this is a self-encourager. That when you're having a bad day, you can pick it up and say, oh, you're a good principal, it's okay to go back. You know why? Because you're going to have days when nobody encourages you. Have you ever had that? Mm-hmm. You're going to have days when you're going to lead yourself to death, and you're going to think you're doing such a great job, and you've supported every single person, and you're going to get a nasty email from some teacher that doesn't appreciate what you're doing. Let me tell you what your teachers are going to have. Your teachers are going to have a classroom of parents that don't appreciate them. Mm-hmm. They're going to bring 3 hours worth of lesson planning to a group, and nobody's going to say anything. They're going to coach their heart out, and they're going to win a basketball game against a team your school's never won, and they're going to come to school with a big smile, hoping everybody's going to pat them on the back, and they're not going to hear anything. And so I give them this as a self-encourager. You know why? Because you are going to be in situations as an educator, as a teacher, as a coach, as a principal, as a superintendent, where people are not encouraging you. But guess what? That's not why you're a good leader. That's not why you do good bulletin boards. That's not why you get good scores. That's not why you get kids into college. You do it because that's what you're called to do. This comes from the movie The Help. If you've ever seen the movie The Help, the maid says to the little girl every day, you're beautiful, you're smart, you're intelligent. You know why? Because she knows that the mother is too self-absorbed, and she wants that young girl to have her own self-encouragement, her internal encouragement. And so we give these to the teachers. My teachers will use it passive-aggressively now. They'll come in and say, good job on that bulletin board, nobody noticed, and slam it away. And I love that. Because I want to notice the bulletin board. I want to notice the bulletin board. I want to know what's going on, but sometimes personal things in my own life get in my way of being an encourager. Encouraging is one of my gifts. I will encourage you when you're doing a great job. I will tell you what a great bulletin board is. But you know what? Sometimes the superintendent has just yelled at me. Sometimes a parent is on Facebook bad-mouthing the school. Sometimes I haven't had a Reese cup in 3 weeks because I'm on keto. When personal things get in the way of my life, I can't encourage you. But that's not why you do a good bulletin board. That's not why you get your kids doing what they're doing. That's not why you're a good teacher. You do it because that's what you're called to do.
Called to do.
And so I challenge you to put these on the teacher's desk and say, you've got to be your own self-encourager, because there's going to be days when I don't say anything because I'm overwhelmed. There's going to be days when you've got a group of parents that don't encourage you like they did last year. But that's not why you do a good job as an educator. You do it because that's what you're called to do. You have to be your own self-encourager. But let me tell you the real reason why we give these out. The real reason we give these out are for the kids. And on Fridays, the teachers pull a stool up and they randomly pick 2 kids and they say, come sit on the stool, take this, say 3 good things about yourself. And the kid says, I'm good at soccer, I'm a good friend, I'm good at math. Do you know how gut-wrenching it is to give this to a 5th grade girl and have her have no idea what to say?
Nothing.
Because our kids are living in a society where you're not supposed to say anything good about yourself, and we want our kids going to middle school having internal motivation. Not waiting on what the boy says about how pretty they are, or what their mom or dad says about what they're doing. We want them to have self-motivation. And so we use these with the kids too. On a constant basis on Friday, all the kids come up and sometimes the teachers have to stand next to them and say, oh, remember you won one of the science fair awards. Oh, I'm good in science. But we want our kids to have internal motivation rather than outside motivation. And so give these to your teachers as a constant to remember that they're not there for your accolation. They're not there because somebody's telling them they're great. They're there because that's what they're called to do. And sometimes they're going to have days where they have to be affirming themselves. But the most important thing I want to share with you, and if you've ever seen me anywhere, you know I always end with it. And it's this, just a dollar store coffee cup, just from the Dollar Tree at $1, well, $1.25 now outside of our life. Just a coffee cup, white script coffee cup, nondescript. I love this. If you're my generation, when I was growing up, we were able to celebrate Christmas in schools. I don't know if you do that now. We can't do any of it. We do no religious holidays. But when I was growing up, my generation, we celebrated Christmas. We sang Christmas carols. We went to the old folks' home with cookies and sang carols to them. We had Christmas trees. The big tradition in my school was the last day before Christmas, everybody brought in a gift that was wrapped. You put boy gift or girl gift on it, put it under the tree, and you got to take a gift home from under the tree. My favorite day of the school year. 3rd grade, I was super excited. My mother took me to the drugstore and she let me get a big, huge package of squirt guns. Had a spy squirt gun, a medium one, a gigantic bazooka squirt gun that held like a gallon of water. And she let me buy a package of 100 water balloons. So as an 8-year-old child, I wrapped up 3 squirt guns and 100 water balloons. Best gift ever for a gift exchange. I had decided that I was going to pull my own gift when I moved and I told my mom, I'm just going to pull my own gift. She said, I'm going to spank you if you do that. Because the year before, my arch rival in 2nd grade walked in with this big, long, rectangular box. He said, hey, I know you love Matchbox cars, so I got 6 Matchbox cars and I taped them all together, so make sure you get this long rectangular box. I said, God, I can't, well, I love Matchbox cars. And when I ripped that paper open, it was actually a Barbie doll. And he made fun of me all year. And he got all the boys to call me Barbie boy. So I told my mom, I'm not going to come home with a Barbie doll, I'm not coming in with a baby doll, I'm just going to pull my own gift. She said, I'm going to spank you if you do that. That's not the way gift exchange works. When I left that morning, she stepped in front of me. She said, you bring those squirt guns home and you see what's going to happen to you. I said, I know what's going to happen to me. You're going to spank me and then I'm going to throw a water balloon at you. You can go hide for 4 hours. I literally got spanked every other day in my house. I didn't care about spanking.
Wow.
So I'm on the bus super excited. I know exactly what I'm going to do. 2 months upset, my friend Roxanne gets on the bus. She didn't have a lot of friends for 2 reasons. One, she's a child with no filter, which I find hilarious, because she says everything she wants to everybody, like, you're fat today, I don't like that outfit, your haircut's horrible. And she says whatever she's thinking, she's constantly getting in trouble. But she also struggles with friends because she's coming from a struggling home. Her mother is a housekeeper in the little 10-room hotel system we have in my small community. She's got 4 brothers and sisters. I don't have any idea where the dad is. She constantly comes to school dirty. I don't even think they have a washing machine. She never has buttons on her shirt. The teachers are pinning them. I've even seen a teacher staple her shirt closed. She's been known to come to school with only one shoe on. Because unlike at my house, I have an extra pair of shoes and she doesn't. If she can't find a shoe, she comes to school with 1 shoe on and 1 sock on, and the counselor has to help her. But she's a great friend of mine. I think she's wonderful. She comes and pops down next to me, and she's holding this exact cup. And I said, what's that? She said, oh, it's for the gift exchange. She said, we don't have any wrapping paper at my house. Mr. Walters said he would wrap whatever I brought in. I knew exactly where the cup came from. My grandmother was staying at the little 10-room hotel where her mother worked. I had waved at her mom the night before. She was cleaning the room right next to my grandmother's. My grandmother was drinking out of this cup. And I thought, she's brought a used coffee cup from her mom's work. What a terrible gift. My second thought was, hold on a minute, what a terrible gift. I'm going to talk to Lenny Staley into grabbing that. He's going to go home with a used coffee cup, and I'm going to call him Coffee Boy all year round. But my third thought, because I was a very sensitive child, was if Lenny Staley gets a hold of this cup, he's going to make fun of my friend Roxanne and make her cry because he's a bully. So I quickly realized 3 bus stops up that I wasn't going home with a squirt gun. I was going home with a used coffee cup. Because it's more important for me, for my friend to have a good day, than it was for me to have a squirt gun. So we came to the classroom and we're all standing around the tree and we're all passing the gifts, trying to guess what they were. That's what the tradition was. I'm watching her out of the corner of my eye, and she goes back and she talks to Mr. Walters. They get up, they go behind this partition. They had a big partition. We didn't have closets, and they're back behind this partition a couple minutes, and she comes out and she's got this beautifully wrapped gift. Looked like it came from Macy's, and she starts joining in the guessing with us. I had decided that at recess that I was going to tell Mr. Walters that I needed him to be in on this, and I needed him to call me first, because the only way to guarantee that I would get the cup would be for him to be in on it. But because of my ADHD, I completely forgot to tell him. I don't know what. And we're in a big circle at 1:30 on December 18th in Rockledge, Florida, at Rockledge Elementary School. I can tell you who was sitting next to me. I can tell you what my teacher had on because how it impacted me. And I'm literally praying as an 8-year-old third grade student that he will call my name so that I can grab that cup. He calls the first name, it's not me, but they don't get the cup. Calls the second name, they don't get the cup. Calls third name, they still don't get the cup, but I'm still praying. Fourth name he calls is Renee Boost. Sweetest girl in our school, prettiest girl you've ever met, straight A student. She was my girlfriend kindergarten through 5th grade. She was also Lisa Taylor's girlfriend. She was a little free with her love, but she was so beautiful, we all wanted to be her boyfriend. We just had like 9 of us. She walks up, she picks up the cup. And I think to myself, well, that's second best scenario. Because if it's not me opening that cup, that's who I would choose. Because I've literally never heard her say anything mean about anybody in the 7 years I've seen her. But the bottom line is she's getting ready to open up a used coffee cup. How good can it be? So now I start praying for Renee and start praying that God will give her something great to say. So she rips open the paper and she holds up the cup, and inside the cup are 10 multicolored, all sorts of colored Sharpie permanent markers and a gigantic king-size Snickers bar. And before she can say anything, Mr. Walters chimes in and says, "Oh my gosh, Renee, you've got an autograph cup. We're all going to be able to pick a different color permanent marker and sign our name to that white cup, and you're going to go home with a cup with all your friends' names on it." That's the best gift I've ever seen.
Oh.
That is literally the moment in my life I decided to become an educator. Literally. When you ask somebody, why did you become a teacher? I can tell you the place, the time, and the exact reason. Do you know why? Because I witnessed the power you hold. As an 8-year-old child, I witnessed the power of a secretary, of a custodian, of a principal, of a 3rd grade teacher to change someone's nondescript coffee cup into something absolutely amazing. And I had a teacher that understood what was more important than reading and social studies and volleyball was dignity.
Dignity.
And I watched my friend walk out of that classroom with her dignity. And I decided I wanted to be a teacher right then and there. I got off the bus that day. My mom was standing there with her arms crossed with a Hot Wheels track in her hand. You know what that means? She had one of the long orange Hot Wheels tracks. She's going to whip you in and get broken up too. And she knew I was going to have those squirt guns. But I jumped off the bus and stood in front of our mom and said, "Mom, I don't want to be a zookeeper anymore. I want to be a teacher. And let me tell you why." And I told her the story of an educator in my life who understood the most important thing you can ever do is make sure that every child you have before you receives love, encouragement, and walks away from you with dignity.
Dignity.
It is life-changing when you do that. It is life-changing when you as a principal stand in front of your group and say, "You know what? We are going to show dignity to everybody, no matter what home they come from, no matter how they're treating you, no matter what pronoun they want to be called, no matter what color their hair is, no matter how they behave. We in this building are going to love, respect, and encourage every student, and every child is going to walk away from you with dignity. And if that does not happen, then we need to have a conversation." And that's my challenge to you. It is life-changing when you accept and love every single child in front of you. And let me tell you what else is life-changing. When you choose the opposite. When you or a teacher chooses to be disrespectful to somebody they don't like the behavior of, or they don't like the life they're living, it is life-changing for that student. I'll give you a personal example of that. Because my 26-year-old son, when he was a junior in high school, decided he wanted to wear nail polish to school. We told him absolutely not. It's against school rules. He was at a small Christian school where my wife taught, "You're not doing that, you're going to get suspended." But in the end, we allowed him to do it anyways. What do you think happened at school? Well, this happened with 5 teachers who said, "Wow, you use school colors. Oh my gosh, every other finger is a school color. What brand is that?" But not his math teacher. His math teacher thought it was more important to tell everybody what he thought about him morally in front of all his friends. And it completely changed my son's life. Because from that day on, he didn't want to go to school anymore. He dropped out of drama. He was the lead of Shrek the Musical. We can't get him to go to church anymore, even on Christmas Eve, when the whole family's going. You know why? Because the Christian man that he loved thought it was more important to tell everybody in the classroom what he thought about my son morally than allow him to walk out of that classroom with love, encouragement, and respect. And we don't have a right to be able to do that. So my challenge to you is to grab one of these. Every store you shop at has these nondescript coffee cups. If you're at the Westin, they owe you one from that alarm. Just take it. But you can grab one of these, and you fill it with your pencils that need to be sharpened. You fill it with your Sharpies. You fill it with whatever you have. And every time you look at that, you say, "Why is that not what state are we in? Why is that not a Georgia cup? Why is that not a Ray Dunn cup? Why is that not a Star Wars cup?" You'd remind yourself at this very moment that white nondescript coffee cup is on your desk to remind you that every single day as a leader, you have a kid in front of you begging for someone to love them, begging for someone to encourage them, waiting for someone to step up and give them their dignity. So my challenge for you today was to find one or two things that you needed to hear. What do you need to hear? Do you need to accept somebody's personality because you're dealing with somebody that's just a little bit too much? What is it you heard? Do you need to be able to grab pacifiers and give them out to your kid, your teachers, to say, I know we're in high school, but the bottom line is we're still dealing with people's babies. What did you hear for you? My second goal was for you to be able to repeat anything that you heard. That you can take a crown in, that you can take peanut butter and jelly in, whatever it is. My goal was for you to hear something that you needed to hear, but more importantly, you heard something that you can repeat to your staff. But this was my real goal. For you to understand as an educator, whether you're a custodian or a superintendent, whether you're a secretary or a teacher, no matter what your position is, you have chosen a position in which every single day you have kids standing in front of you with nondescript coffee cups waiting for some adult to stand up and love them and show them encouragement and allow them to have the dignity that they deserve. So I challenge you to grab one of these. If you get to school and you can't remember what I've said, because you're not going to remember what I said tomorrow, Instagram is the only social media that I messaged. And I know we're so crazy and we're trying to find staff, and you're going to get to August and go, I wanted to say that. If you message me on Instagram, you will get a direct message from me. I don't look at Facebook. TikTok drives me crazy. Your high schoolers are mean as they can be. They call me fat and hairy all the time, which I am, but that's okay. If you message me on Instagram, you're going to get a message back from me. The group Gail also has my email address. You can Google my email address if you need to remember something. If you can't find a video, all these videos are on YouTube, and you can go on there and share them with your staff. If you need something, just message me on Instagram or email me. But I hope I've met my goals today. I hope that you're going to find one or two things that you as an individual leader needed to hear. I hope that you got one or two things that you can repeat with your staff, but more importantly, that you understand the importance of your job. That every single one of you are dealing with kids standing in front of you with nondescript coffee cups, waiting for some adult to stand up and love them and encourage them and get them through the school year, and you have the ability to be able to do that. Message me on Instagram if you need anything. It's so great meeting you guys, and I hope you have a fantastic conference. Thank you guys so very much.